Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and there's been quite some discussion these last few hours regarding what Los Angeles Thieves should exactly do, because they come into this week with their new team. They had a matchup against Minnesota Rokkr that they certainly could have won, and then yesterday they got completely demolished by OpTic Chicago. Going into the major, you'd imagine they're going to keep the same team, but there has been some significant questions whether they should already be making another roster change, given the fact that TJ maybe hasn't been performing, and Drazah, well, what did he do yesterday? But it will show that he can certainly still do it with an SMG in hand. Intrigued to take your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. I greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. This I thought was pretty funny from Jericho, our Simp's girlfriend. I think this is from a couple of years ago now. Simp on this ride right here, absolutely killing it on all fronts. And he's getting that fired up as well for the major coming up in just a couple of days' time. Looking fresh as per. Glazer says this was actually, and I thought I'd just mention this from a different angle, because there was some discussion about, okay, the Halo's coming out. Who knows what the Halo scene looks like exactly? There are some players in the scene, for example Shotzzy, especially over at Dallas Empire, that if he wanted, he could go back to Halo and probably dominate if they want to pay him a lot of money. And if it's not going so well in Call of Duty, I don't know what's going to happen. Glazer, I imagine, isn't going to be going to Halo anytime soon, but certainly mentioning the possibility here on the timeline could be something that could affect our scene going forwards. Thought I'd mention this as well. I mentioned this for Stage 3 for Momo Bro, how series went in Stage 4. Unfortunately, 3-1 fashion wasn't dominating this time around. It was actually the 3-0 and the 3-1 fashion tied here at 11 each, and then 3-2 a day to them. So I'm excited to see how this will develop for Stage 5. Pretty cool stat to track, to be honest. Over time, it seems like teams are getting better at just closing out against the opposition, and if anything, the skill gap between the teams is extending over time, as you may well expect, with teams learning the game better and can actually win series in a more consistent fashion. So this, honestly, yesterday was pretty remarkable series, right? This was one of the more dominant maps, if not the most dominant that we have seen so far this season. Winning an offense, only losing 2 lives on a map like Garrison is incredibly rare to do, and OpTic just completely destroy them. It was a 4-minute 58 control. Every single respawn went the way of OpTic in just absolutely crushing fashion, and Thieves were just nowhere near the pace that they needed, right? And OpTic, yes, they're very good generally when it comes down to these grudge match series, right? Formal versus Sasha, Formal versus Kenny, that was kind of the storyline coming into this, and they just completely smoked them in all the respawns. They did lose the surge, but it didn't really look like it was ever going to be close here in the respawns for these OpTic guys. Now, really, you look at Thieves, are you expecting that team to get outslayed as they did, right? We'll have a look at the stats here in a second. You've got Kenny, you've got Huke, you've got TJ, you've got Slasher. Now, of course, they've built this team, I imagine, because they're going back to LAN. I think I'm not sure this team would have been built if they hadn't been going back to LAN. I imagine also Nadeshot's probably said, look, we're paying Slasher and Huke all this money to sit on the bench. Like, I don't care what you think, JCat, we're bringing them in for the LAN environment. That is just how we're doing it. I imagine maybe that was part of the discussion. Now, of course, the rest of the players on the team, in Kenny and TJ, are still somewhat question marks. I don't think Kenny's a question mark. TJ is the big question mark though, right? He's been on this team the entire season. He hasn't really looked great. Hasn't really looked great the last couple of seasons. Been all the talent that we talk about, right? And he does have pop-up moments, most certainly. The last time he was particularly good was probably back in, I guess, Black Ops 4. You could say World War II, he was one of the best SMG players in the game, no doubt about it. But in recent times, he pretty much hasn't been up to par, and I think a lot of people are saying similar things. This was the slang yesterday. I mean, Slasher's minus 29, TJ has a 0.58, and I mean, look, you just don't see this type of stuff every day, but still, pretty much this entire season, TJ is not putting up great numbers, as we will look at here in just a second. Now, of course, to bring back Slasher and Huke, they had to bin 2 players off, right, in Venom and Drazah. Now, Venom, I think, understandably so, he didn't necessarily perform in the matches the way they were talking about how he's performing in practice, but Drazah, I think, has been a great player for this team, and a very versatile player, and it just kind of surprised me that he was benched again, because last season, after he did so well for OpTic Los Angeles throughout the latter half of that season when they brought him in, then they benched him before. This season didn't go great. Then they brought him back to look really good. Now they benched him again, and here this 2 defeats this week. Obviously a game 5 round 11 against Rokkr they should have won, but this one against OpTic, it's like, if this is a sign of things to come at LAN, you can't imagine this changing too significantly when you go to LAN, right? It wasn't pretty in the respawns by any means, as Jacob's going to talk about here in just a second. So on the TJ side of things, is that the next change you try and make, right? You've basically changed out everyone else apart from Kenny, and of course Kenny's going to stay. He's a phenomenal player, no doubt about it, but TJ really is the replaceable one, I would say, right now, especially with Drazah going immediately into challenges and just dominating things with the SMG in hand. That is a very versatile player indeed. It surprised me when he was got rid of initially, right, because it's like, he's been such a good player for them. Every time they bring him back into the team, they seem to do a good job, but yet they're still benching him again. As Jacob says, like, got stomped in the respawns. GG's OpTic lost 3-1. Maybe time for another change indeed. As Drazah says right here, here, because yesterday, like, it's crazy timing really, right? Drazah comes straight into the challenger scene, teaming with Prolutes, Mohawk, and Sparge, and just wins the Challenger Cup without even too much of a fuss, and I'm not even sure they went Game 5 in a single series that they played. Yeah, honestly, a cracking tournament, and as Drazah says, 2 days with a new role and roster, and I'll just win the tournament, I don't even care, I'm absolutely just smoking these fools. He was at a great when he had to use the main AR on Los Angeles Thieves, now he's straight into the SMG role, and just absolutely killing things. As he says, I'll do whatever I want, I simply do not care. And to us, Paris that says in reply to Drazah right here, you are a true sub-player, bro. Now, the Flank was talking about it last night, there was some discussion from Abel, from Zuma, from Bin, the fact that, look, this may be the direction to go down, right? Bring in Drazah back for TJ, that may give them the best possible chance going forwards, that may be the final iteration maybe of this roster at some point. Whether they will make that change before the major or leave it till they lose to Los Angeles Grillers, or maybe make some sort of run. Certainly that is possible at the major. That does remain to be seen.
See that one coming. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he's back on the starting lineup.
Oh, you think so?
I know. I don't got any intel.
At some point, I don't
talk to him. It's just
he was good. I mean, he was just good.
He was good. Yeah. He had a couple series where he looked off, but to be fair, the whole team looked off before they just made this recent change. And I know I cook the guy all the time, but I love Teach. He hasn't looked good with this 4. And if Drazah, Chris, you could probably actually talk on it more than I can, because I don't know, like, if he's running a sub, I've heard people say that he looks really good with the sub.
He was a sub player in MW, and that's where he got his shine, and that's when he ended up getting on 100T and stuff like that because of how good he was in MW. And then on top of that, to add on to that, when he got dropped from 100 Thieves and he was moving to Challengers, I tried to start something with them, and I told him, I'm like, eat on their teams is they need really good submachine guns. They need their next Simps and aBeZy. If you can prove you can run a sub at the highest level, then you're gonna have a bright career ahead of you, and that's what you need to do. And he was good at it in MW. So I think
I mean, they did just win Challengers. I mean, they did their thing. NA Challengers Cup number 17.
Has Drazah played on LAN?
Yeah, I played in Atlanta, the Atlanta home series with him back when he was pretty relatively unknown. We got like a top 6. It wasn't anything crazy. And then we also played like some local where we played against like a super stacked team of like high tier challenger teams, and we smoked them with like team of basically people that don't even like barely play anymore. So yeah, he's good. I like to call him my son as a joke, but I think he is a very, very talented player, and I think he's going to prove within time that he's a generational talent, man. He's going to be up there at some point in his career. I have no doubt in my mind. He's disgusting.
That's good guess from...
So these are the statistics so far this season. It's not pretty at all, to be honest. TJ has a 0.98 in search, a 0.95 in control, and I'm pretty sure a 0.84. This may be only the recent couple of games they played, but I think like I tried to scroll through and like select all of these, and it's something like this. It's not pretty at all. I mean, obviously, Huke, since he's come back into the team, hasn't done anything spectacular either. And I mean, Slasher, I'm pretty sure this is his season KD. So it's interesting stuff regardless. And yeah, it's not looking great for TJ at all, especially in the respawns. He was a great player a couple of years ago. TJ, Loony, Gunless, Slasher, what a team that was back in World War II on the Rise Nation side of things. And then he gets onto OpTic Gaming, he does in, well, Black Ops 4, that being TJ, and has some decent success there as well, looked pretty solid on the SMG. However, since then, Modern Warfare he was pretty bad, and this year, like, well, you're not seeing the level of TJ that you did see a few years ago. Now, that does raise some questions, right? Because if you're Los Angeles Thieves, as the guys on the flank were just saying, as Parasite was just saying, look, you need to be able to compete with aBeZy and Simp. That is just the gold standard at this point. If you want to be able to win series against the top teams, and like, you've got to beat FaZe effectively in a best of 9 to win these tournaments. It's not easy to do, right? Because they're going to win all the Search and Destroys, and aBeZy and Simp are just going to dominate most series that they play in, and then you've got Arcitys and Cellium on the backline as well. The SMG duo, I think, is the most important thing in Call of Duty, and that's why FaZe, one of the reasons why FaZe are so good as they are. Now, the other teams that can compete with those top squads have incredible SMG duos. I think the Hydra and Asim are very, very talented indeed over at the New York side. I think that on the Toronto side, you've got CleanX and Bance. I mean, Bance has been phenomenal as of late. Still maybe somewhat underrated, to be honest, in the impact that he's been having in recent times. I think CleanX also in a similar boat. He is a phenomenal player, right up there with aBeZy, I think, in terms of his pure skill set, and just doesn't have quite the results that aBeZy has had as of yet. But yeah, I think those two teams that can really compete with FaZe at the current time definitely are right up there. I think Scump and Envoy have a chance on their day as well, and there's some other teams that have decent SMG duos. On the Los Angeles Thieves side, Huke is certainly one piece of a great SMG duo, no doubt about it. But TJHaLy, I don't think has really proven so so far this season, especially given the fact that he's kind of, well, touted as a great S&D player, really. We haven't necessarily seen that so far this season. I'm pretty sure he had like a one particularly good S&D game. He were like 12-0 against Seattle earlier on this season. That was pretty remarkable. But since then, nothing special is really happening in TJ Search and Destroy, and in the respawns, it hasn't been great either. So certainly some big questions right here. They made this change a few days ago with TJ staying, with Kenny staying, and look, at this point, they've made so many changes this season. Would it surprise you to see another one going into the major or after the major? Well, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me, but still, I mean, there's been a lot of questions, like the fact that, okay, Slasher goes out, Jacob doesn't seem to care too much about the friendship league type stuff, but still, TJ's like sitting around this team, despite probably being their worst performing player for quite a while at this point, you could certainly argue. So I think the Drazah for TJ is a pretty likely possibility, and well, we'll have to see how things go. Maybe they go to the major, they go to a LAN environment, they absolutely kill it. And I mean, you know, Drazah has played on LAN, it's not like he's a stranger to a LAN environment. TJ, of course, has more experience over many years of playing Call of Duty in that environment, but still, maybe they try this team out, see how it goes. But the problem is for them, they're starting in losers, and realistically, you're not going to get better than maybe top 6 going through losers. It's certainly possible, but they're going to have some tough matches, that's for sure. And maybe, you know, first game back on LAN, some jitters. It's basically a one and done run. If they lose that series to LAG, then they're straight out of the tournament. So big implications right here, to be honest, as Drazah says, got to prove them wrong. And well, he did it a few days ago now, and certainly has proven them wrong just a couple of days later when they get bodied by Los Angeles Thieves, and then he's there in the challenger side with the SMG running a role that he could use on Los Angeles Thieves and hasn't really used in a while, and just actually winning the Challengers Cup without breaking too much of a sweat. Just to finish off with the video with this, I thought was funny. Mock versus Joey Nubsy here in a foot race. Joey Nubsy can't quite get the job done, and I mean, you know, oh my god, Joey's form is truly something special, but you know, maybe you'll get there at some point. I just thought this was kind of funny because Seattle obviously having a hard time, Joey Nubsy having a hard time on his well, his food takes on the timeline most certainly, and also here in the foot race against Mock doesn't quite go his way, but yeah, maybe some more training required and he can get to the level he needs to be. But do take your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.